Hey everyone, thanks for checking into our latest TDR Trade Black weekly recap presented by Dutchie. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and oh, what a week it was. We finally got the news that many in this industry have been waiting on for a long time. President Donald Trump finally commented on the rescheduling of cannabis. And not only that, he even hinted at when a decision will be made. And based on that, it sent cannabis stocks soaring this week. So let's get into today's recap. But before we do, a quick reminder, this podcast is presented by Dutchie. Dutchie powers cannabis commerce with a point-of-sale, e-commerce, payments, and more all in one compliant, reliable platform. Whether you're a single location dispensary or a multi-state operator, Dutchie keeps your business running smoothly and your compliance boxes checked. If you want to learn more, visit business.dutchie.com. With that, let's get into today's weekly recap. But before this week, let's start with last weekend. A story in the Wall Street Journal last weekend reported that at a $1 million a plate fundraiser in Bedminster, President Donald Trump was asked about marijuana rescheduling. His reply, "That's something we're going to look at. It's about as non-committal as it gets, but given the silence since inauguration, it's still very notable." The Biden-era rescheduling process is now sitting on Trump's lap. Some advisors want him to deliver on the campaign pledge, but others warn loosening federal restrictions could invite political and moral blowback. Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has a completed agency report on her desk, so whether this collects dust or sparks action really is anyone's guess at this point. But based off all this, the cannabis industry, let's face it, is watching closely and putting real money on the table. A marijuana industry-funded PAC gave $1 million to Trump's MAGA Incorporated earlier this year, with Trulieve contributing $250,000. Trulieve CEO Kim Rivers was at that same Bedminster dinner. Scotts Miracle-Gro CEO says Trump has told him multiple times he'll follow through. Trump's former acting DEA chief predicts they'll dig in on the state-federal cannabis conflict. Still, new DEA Administrator Terrence Cole, he left rescheduling off his officials' priority list. So there's a lot of moving parts here, but one thing's for sure, we're going to find out the conclusion in these next few weeks. So the bottom line here, this is enough to keep hope, but not across the finish line just yet. So make sure you stay connected over these next few weeks. Then add to that story from last weekend, on Monday at a White House presser conference, Trump called cannabis policy a very complicated subject. Medical marijuana, he said he's heard great things. Everything else, pretty bad things. But he did say a decision will come in these next few weeks. That's a tempered tone from the campaign trail. The West Wing remains split. PACs are running ads to nudge him forward, and supporters claim he's committed in private. But skeptics point to the DEA's silence. For now, the industry advice is simple: keep the champagne on ice for now. And while this is all unfolding, there's been some big names weighing in on this, including former Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz. On his One America News platform, he was pushing Trump to reschedule cannabis. He also calls marijuana Schedule I status absurd, worse than fentanyl, and says rescheduling is populism meets practicality. His pitch: unclog courts, free up police for real crime, and stop pretending dispensaries are cartel fronts. Gaetz even joked about mega hats and dispensaries and pre-rolls named 1776 Freedom Kush. Humor aside, he says smart politics and smart economics. Go Matt Gaetz. Speaking of Florida, the road to the 2026 adult use vote is hitting legal roadblocks. Smart and Safe Florida is challenging a state law that makes it a crime for non-residents to collect petition signatures. A federal judge already paused part of the law, but campaign attorneys want complete relief so circulators can get back to work without fear of prosecution. The state is resisting, though, saying 2 injunctions at once would be messy. Other ballot campaigns are joining the lawsuit, arguing the law is about choking off citizen-led measures. The outcome could decide how quickly signatures can be gathered before the deadlines. Man, this is politics at its finest right now. Also in Florida, RNC Treasurer Joe Gruters is set to take over as party chair on August 26 unopposed. He's one of the most cannabis-friendly Republicans ever in that role, supporting home grow for patients and employment protections. This is symbolic for now, but worth watching for potential policy shifts. Let's now move to the Hoosier state in Indiana, where Governor Mike Braun says Trump moving forward on rescheduling could add fuel to the fire in state cannabis discussions. Senator Jim Banks remains opposed, though. Polls show 87% of Hoosiers support some form of legalization, but leadership remains resistant. All right, that's it for reform. Let's now move to the earnings front, where Village Farms International delivered a strong Q2 2025. Consolidated net sales rose 12% to $59.9 million. Net income from continuing operations was $9.9 million compared to a $16.6 million loss last year. Adjusted EBITDA from continuing operations surged to $17 million from $2.9 million, with margins up to 28.6% from 5.4%. Canadian cannabis sales climbed 9% to $44.5 million. International medical exports surged 690%, lifting gross margins to 39%. Net income also jumped 369% to $6.5 million, and adjusted EBITDA rose 146% to $11.9 million. U.S. cannabis sales were $3.8 million, margins improved to 63%, and losses narrowed sharply. And then their international numbers. Netherlands Cannabis, aka Leli Holland, posted $2.5 million in sales, $800,000 in net income, $1.2 million in EBITDA, with 82.5% coffee shop penetration, and phase 2 capacity expansion on track for Q1 2026. CEO Michael DeGiulio flagged a few catalysts, including the produce transaction bringing $40 million in cash, record profitability, Holland adult use sales, high margin portfolio shifts, and a Delta 2 expansion adding 40 metric tons annually. They also refinanced Canadian cannabis term loans at rates below 6% and extended maturity to 2028. So a job well done by Michael DeGiulio and team at Village Farms International. Up next was Glass House Brands, and their Q2 revenue hit $59.9 million, up 11% year over year and 34% quarter over quarter. Gross margins were 53%. Adjusted EBITDA jumped to $18.1 million from $4.4 million in Q1. Production costs fell $91 a pound, well below target. Retail sales grew 13% in a down California market and supported by partnerships with Leaf, Ease, and UC Berkeley. All in all, a good report by Glass House Brands. Next up is Grow Generation, who posted $41 million in sales and up 14% sequentially. Proprietary brand shares rose up to 32% from 21.5% last year, driving gross margin to 28.3%. Operating expenses dropped nearly 23%, narrowing their net loss to $4.8 million. The balance sheet shows $48.7 million in cash and no debt. Keep that in mind. Also making news this week was Aurora Cannabis, and their AGM saw Teresa Firestone resign from the board. Michael Singer becomes a lead independent director and HRCC chair. Auditor Ernst & Young was reappointed. Amendments to equity plans passed, but say on pay failed to win majority support. Next up is Grown Rogues, and their Q2 pro forma revenue rose 4% to $8.01 million, with margins at 22.7%. Oregon revenue was $3.08 million, with 26% margins despite price drops. Think Michigan's a tough market? Well, their Michigan revenue fell 34% to $2.28 million. New Jersey contributed $2.65 million at a 48.6% margins, and expansion continues in Illinois and potentially in Minnesota. Also making news this week was AFC Gamma, who posted distributable earnings of $3.4 million. It expanded its lending mandate beyond cannabis real estate to include ancillary cannabis and middle market companies outside the sector. Plans are underway to convert it from a REIT to a BDC, enabling broader lending opportunities. So an interesting pivot here by AFC Gamma. Another big news was Cresco Labs. They refinanced with a $325 million senior secured term loan at 12.5% interest. And here's the key thing, it's not maturing until 2030. So more runway time for Cresco Labs. With this, the move cuts debt from $360 million, extends maturities by 5 years, and allows prepayment flexibility. CEO Charlie Backtill says it removes near-term refinancing risk and really supports growth. So nice job by Charlie and team. Another big news this week was High Tide. They acquired 51% of Remexian Pharma for €27.2 million. Remexian imports from 19 countries with 70 million euro annualized revenue and 15 million euro EBITDA. Big move by Raj and the crew. When we look at Germany, their patient count is nearing 900,000, tripling since 2024. High Tide plans to leverage Canadian supply to expand share and use this as a springboard for the European growth. And what a springboard this is going to be for them. So that's it for this week. A week of high-stakes politics, courtroom battles, and a packed earnings slate. Whether it's the White House hinting at rescheduling, Florida's legal fights, or companies like Village Farms, Cresco, and High Tide making strategic moves, this industry is heating up. I'm hearing a lot of people say we're in for quite a ride here in the back end of 2025 for the cannabis industry. If we get a rescheduling announcement, that indeed will be the case. But as I said earlier, put the champagne on ice right now. We're not there just yet. Let's hope we do. But one thing's for sure, this is going to be a very interesting week. With that, enjoy the rest of your weekend, everyone. One last thing, make sure to scan this QR code and become a daily baked-in newsletter subscriber delivered to your inbox weekdays, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time, giving you all the latest information on the reform and business side of the cannabis industry. And really, is this not the most important time to stay connected about the reform and the business side of the industry? Stocks are moving, and we could get an announcement from the president. So lots going on, so you want to make sure your daily baked-in newsletter $5 subscriber. Also, if you like this breakdown, make sure to give this video a like. Let us know your comments and what really grabbed your attention this week, and smash on that bell for all notifications. And if you haven't done so, make sure to subscribe to our channel. We'd appreciate it here at the TDR Trade to Black podcast. All right, everyone, I'll let you get back to your weekend festivities. In the meantime, stay open-minded, stay connected, and I'll see you next time in our latest TDR Trade to Black podcast. I'm your host, Shad Dales, and thanks again for watching.